So we're basically at a parking lot for mobile homes where a lot of or agriculture workers or migrant workers live here.
It's just before 8 p.m. in Alamosa, Colorado.
They're not the greatest condition.
Many farm workers are getting home from work. Amalia Baltazar, promotora del Valle de San Luis, an advocate for agricultural workers, is showing us around the neighborhood.
They drive either to Center, to Monte Vista, or going down to south for to work in the fields.
She says people work 10 to 16-hour work shifts almost daily, and yet she says this is often the best they can afford to live in.
Where there's no heating, there's no air, there's holes in their floor, and mom and dad worry about them getting hurt. And this is where they live.
When we asked farm workers about their living conditions, so many said they're blessed to have what they have.
Por ganar dinero, pues, estamos haciendo todo el trabajo, lo que sea posible.
For 15 years, Rafael Cruz Garcia has worked as a farm worker in Alamosa. He lives in a small apartment with his grown son.
Me gusta, en primer lugar hay trabajo, segundo lugar está muy tranquilo y no hay mucho problema.
Life here is very different from his home country in Guatemala.
No tengo mi familia completa aquí, la verdad. Yo estoy solo, mi esposa está en Guatemala.
Although he's happy to live in a place with a lot of work, that means he's away from his family.
Venimos para trabajar, no nomás para pasar el tiempo, ¿verdad?
And to hear him say that earlier is, I have everything that I need. Why? They have families in their countries that might not have a roof over their head, that might not have a plate of food to feed their children at the end of the day.
In Alamosa, affordable housing is hard to come by. When harvest season comes around and a lot of new farm workers move into town, housing is even harder to find.
The demand's there, but the housing isn't.
Raymond Hurtado understands that issue well. He's a project director for San Luis Valley Farm Worker Housing, one of the largest organizations providing more than 130 housing units for farm workers in the area. Rental units called Tierra Nueva.
I think it's important to provide safe, clean, affordable housing for families.
Nos tocó muy buena suerte, gracias a Dios.
Fernando Armillo Mijares has lived at Tierra Nueva for more than a decade with his family. The opportunity to live somewhere like this is why he decided to make Center his home.
Hablemos de las dos cosas, ¿verdad? Del sitio y la suerte, ¿verdad? Porque pues ya ve que la suerte no es la de todos.
Some units at Tierra Nueva are smaller and more like dorms. Several farm workers share them, and not everyone has an opportunity to live here.
Right now we have zero availability.
Raymond says sometimes farm workers who are turned away have to live in a homeless shelter in Alamosa called La Puente.
Or they end up living all packed together in some rental property somewhere. So it's very difficult. It really breaks my heart to turn people away.
Raymond is hoping to expand, but the pandemic has delayed those plans.
I started since I was probably about 7 years old.
Center promotora Anita Rodriguez says she comes from a family of migrant workers who travel from community to community working different crops.
I mean, if anybody knows what it is to work out in the fields and now be paying for it, let me tell you, you would think that something has changed, and it hasn't.
She says a lot of workers she has helped don't have a comfortable place to live.
I mean, it's still sad when you go inside their housing and you see just beds, side by side, beds. And especially when you see a 70-year-old guy working in there, I mean, that is actually working out in the fields and stuff like that. You're just like, oh my God, that could be my dad.
It's work they do with honor, work they're proud of, work everyone we talk to agrees they deserve more for.